You are standing in a nursery that costs more than most people's houses. Hand-painted murals, custom-carved crib, a mobile made from Murano glass, and somewhere in this room a name card, chosen not by a parent flipping through a baby book at 2 a.m., but by a team of linguists, brand strategists, and heritage consultants who build six figures for the privilege. Because for the ultra-wealthy, even a name is a brand decision. The moment a child becomes a brand, most of us arrive at a baby name the same way. A grandmother's name, a favorite character, something that sounded right in the moment. For the billionaire class, that process looks completely different. Before the nursery is even finished, before the birth announcement is drafted, a quiet phone call goes out to a very small group of very specialized firms. The mandate is simple. Find us a name worthy of the legacy we've built. These aren't baby name consultants in the way you might imagine. They're identity architects, the same firms hired to name pharmaceutical drugs, luxury car models, and private equity funds now take on infant clients. And the fees match accordingly, starting at $10,000 and climbing well past $75,000 for a comprehensive naming package. The billionaire class does not gamble on first impressions, not with their companies, not with their reputations, and certainly not with their children. What $10,000 actually buys you? So what exactly happens inside a luxury naming consultation? The process typically begins weeks before the baby arrives, with a detailed family intake interview. Consultants map the family's ancestral heritage across multiple generations, scanning for phonetic patterns, historically significant names, and naming traditions specific to their cultural lineage. Then comes the brand audit. Yes, a brand audit. Consultants review the family's public image, their business empire, their philanthropic associations, and even the social media footprint. The goal is to find a name that feels organic to the family's identity, while positioning the child for maximum gravitas in whatever world they'll eventually inhabit. A name too common risks blending in. A name too unusual risks embarrassment. The perfect name in this world must be instantly pronounceable in 7 languages, carry no unfortunate historical associations, and age seamlessly from a cradle to a boardroom to a charitable foundation, bearing that name for generations. Linguistic analysis follows. Consultants run candidate names through phonetic testing, how the syllables land on the ear, how the name sounds announced at a charity gala, how it reads on a legal document, how it plays across Romance languages, Mandarin, Arabic. Some firms even run names through a kind of sonic branding test, the same methodology used to evaluate how product names perform in advertising. Finally, trademark and domain availability checks. Because in 2024, a truly elite name needs a clean digital footprint from day one. The quiet industry nobody talks about. This industry exists largely in whispers. The firms that provide these services rarely advertise. They don't need to. Theatre world is small and interconnected as the ultra-high net worth community. Reputation travels the same way it does on a mega yacht pontoon, quietly, between people who already know each other. Some of the most sought-after consultants come from unexpected backgrounds, former luxury branding executives, retired academics specializing in classical languages and etymology, genealogists who originally worked for royal households in Europe. What they share is a deep understanding of what a name communicates before a person ever speaks a word. If you want to keep learning about the world the ultra-wealthy actually live in, hit subscribe. New stories drop every week. The secrecy around these services is deliberate. Many ultra-wealthy families consider the naming process as private as their estate planning. Consultants sign NDAs as standard practice. The families referenced in this space, the ones most likely to use such a service, are exactly the kind of people whose names you would recognize and whose children's names you will never link to the process that created them, heritage, legacy, and the weight of a name. What's driving this trend isn't just vanity. It reflects a specific anxiety that runs deep in the billionaire class, the question of legacy. How do you ensure that what you've built survives you, that the next generation carries it forward, not just financially but symbolically? A name is the first piece of that puzzle. In dynastic families, naming has always carried enormous weight. The European aristocracy understood this for centuries. The great merchant families of the Renaissance named their children with deliberate care, connecting each generation to the one before it through carefully chosen given names that signaled lineage, alliance, and aspiration. Today's billionaire class is doing the same thing, just with updated methodology. Instead of a court herald, they hire a brand strategist. Instead of a genealogist in the family chapel, they get a full linguistic analysis delivered in a 40-page report. The instinct is ancient. The execution is thoroughly modern. There are also practical considerations that go beyond symbolism. In an era where children of ultra-high net worth families grow up under extraordinary scrutiny, social media exposure, potential kidnapping risk, the pressures of inherited wealth and public expectation, a name that is too unusual can draw unwanted attention. Too generic and it fails to distinguish, consultants describe the ideal outcome as a name that feels inevitable, as if it could never have been anything else. The $75,000 premium package at the very top of the baby naming market. Families are not simply paying someone to suggest a beautiful name. They are buying an entire identity architecture. A premium naming package can include a complete family naming system, carefully designed to cover first names, middle names, future sibling names, and even name combinations that will remain consistent as the family grows. The purpose is not only elegance but continuity. Every name must sound natural beside the family surname, fit the parent's cultural background, carry the right social tone, and avoid anything that could feel dated, awkward, or commercially weak in the future. These services often go far beyond basic creativity. Some firms prepare formal naming reports, explaining the meaning, origin, pronunciation, historical use, linguistic associations, and cultural sensitivity of each shortlisted option. Others produce documentation similar to a brand strategy file, why the name works, how it may be perceived in different countries, whether it carries prestige, softness, authority, or modernity, and how it may age from childhood into adulthood. In some cases, the final recommendation is delivered through a polished presentation deck that parents can share with grandparents, family offices, advisors, or trustees. The most exclusive boutique consultants go even further. They create what may be called a naming narrative, a written origin story for the selected name. This document may explain the historical roots of the name, the values behind it, the cultures considered, and the emotional reasoning that led to the final choice. It can be framed, preserved in a family archive, or eventually given to the child as a personal keepsake. It quietly says, "Your name was not chosen casually. It was researched, tested, debated, and selected with intention before you were born." For families who understand the power of reputation, this makes sense in their world. Billionaires know what it costs to build a name in business. They spend decades turning a family name into a symbol of credibility, influence, and wealth. So when a child is born into that legacy, the name is not treated as a small detail. It becomes part of inheritance planning, reputation management, and long-term family branding. This reveals something important about the billionaire mindset. For most people, a baby is simply a baby, loved before anything else. For the ultra-wealthy, a baby is also the next chapter of a larger story, a fortune, a dynasty, a public identity, and a family legacy built over generations. In that context, spending $10,000 or even $75,000 on a name does not appear irrational to them. It appears strategic. Before the child speaks, walks, studies, or enters a boardroom, the first piece of positioning has already been completed. The brand begins with the name. And somewhere behind that polished choice, a consultant has been paid handsomely to ensure the legacy begins with perfect precision and lasting symbolic power. And if this story made you see the world a little differently, subscribe. Every week we go inside the systems, industries, and lifestyles most people never see up close.